Long-term thinking improves short-term decision-making. Successful people have a clear future orientation. They think 5, 10, and 20 years out into the future. They analyze their choices and behaviors in the present to make sure that they are consistent with the long-term future that they desire. By definition, something that is important has long-term potential consequences. Something that is unimportant has few or no long-term potential consequences. Future intent influences and often determines present actions. The clearer you are about your future intentions, the greater influence that clarity will have on what you do in the moment. With a clear long-term vision, you are much more capable of evaluating an activity in the present and ensuring that it is consistent with where you truly want to end up. Successful people are those who are willing to delay gratification and make sacrifices in the short term so that they can enjoy far greater rewards in the long term. Unsuccessful people think more about short-term pleasure and immediate gratification while giving very little thought to the long-term future. Dennis Whaley says, failures do what is tension relieving, while winners do what is goal achieving. Yeah? For example, coming into work earlier, reading regularly in your field, taking courses to improve your skills, and focusing on high-value tasks in your work will all combine to have an enormous positive impact on your future. On the other hand, coming into work at the last moment, reading the newspaper, drinking a coffee, socializing with your coworkers may seem fun and enjoyable in the short term, but it inevitably leads to lack of promotion, underachievement, and frustration in the long term. If a task or activity has great potential positive consequences, make it a top priority and get started on it immediately. If something can have large potential negative consequences if it's not done quickly and well, that should become a top priority as well. Whatever your frog is, resolve to gulp it down first thing. Remember, motivation requires motive. The greater the positive potential impact that an action or behavior of yours can have on your life, the more motivated you will be to overcome procrastination and get it done quickly. Keep yourself focused and forward-moving by continually starting and completing those tasks that can make a major difference. You see, time is going to pass anyway. The only question is how you use it, and where you end up is largely a matter of the amount of consideration you give to the likely consequences of your actions in the short term. Thinking continually about the potential consequences of your choices, decisions, and behaviors is one of the very best ways to determine your true priorities in your work and personal life. Your aim in personal management is to spend more time doing more of those things that can have the greatest possible consequences on your life and work. Here, review your list and apply the 80-20 rule before you begin. If you have a list of 10 items to complete, 2 of those items will be more valuable than all other 8 items put together. Sometimes it will even be the 90-10 rule that applies. Often one task on a list of 10 items that you have to do during the day will contain more value than everything else put together. This task, unfortunately, is usually the task that you will procrastinate on most readily. Once you've identified your top 20% of tasks, you can then practice creative procrastination on the others. The only question is, well, which of your tasks are you going to procrastinate on? Procrastinate on the 80% of tasks that contribute very little to your desired goals and results. Focus your attention on those tasks that can have the greatest possible consequences for successful completion. William Matthews said, "The first law of success is concentration, to bend all the energies to one point and to go directly to that point, looking neither to the right nor to the left." The more thought you invest in planning and setting priorities before you begin, the more important things you will do, and the faster you will get them done once you get started. The more important and valuable the task is to you, the more you will be motivated to overcome procrastination and launch yourself into the job. The ABCDE method is a powerful priority-setting technique that you can use every single day. This technique is so simple and effective that it can all by itself make you one of the most efficient and effective people in your field. Here's how. You start with a list of everything you have to do for the coming day. Think on paper. You then place an A, B, C, D, or E before each item on your list before you begin the first task. An A item is defined as something that is very important, something that you must do or else face serious consequences. An A item on your list might be visiting a key customer or finishing a report for your boss. that she needs for an upcoming board meeting. These items are the frogs of your life. If you have more than one A task, you prioritize these tasks by writing A1, A2, A3, and so on in front of each item. Your A1 task is your biggest, ugliest frog of all. A B item is defined as a task that you should do, but it has only mild consequences. These items are the tadpoles of your work life. This means that someone may be unhappy or inconvenienced if you don't do one of these tasks, but it is nowhere as important as an A task. Returning an unimportant telephone message or reviewing your email would be a B task. The rule is that you should never do a B task when there is an A task left undone. You should never be distracted by a tadpole when a big frog is sitting there, waiting to be. A C task is defined as something that would be nice to do, but for which there are no consequences at all, whether you do it or not. C tasks include phoning a friend, having coffee or lunch with a coworker, or completing some personal business during work hours. Never do a C task when you have a B task left undone. Keep focused on your A tasks throughout the day. A D task is defined as something you can delegate to someone else. The rule is that you should delegate everything that anyone else can do so that you can free up more time for the A tasks that only you can do. An E task in the ABCDE method is defined as something that you can eliminate altogether and it won't make any real difference. This may be a task that was important to you at one time but is no longer relevant to yourself or anyone else. After you have applied the ABCDE method to your list, you will be completely organized and ready to get more important things done faster. The key to making this ABCD method work is for you to now discipline yourself to start immediately on your A1 task and then to stay at it until it's complete. Use your willpower to get going and stay going on this one job, the most important single task you could possibly be doing. Your ability to think through and analyze your work list and determine your A1 task is the springboard to higher levels of accomplishment and greater self-esteem, self-respect, and personal pride. When you develop that habit of concentrating on your A1 most important activity, you'll start getting more done than any 2 or 3 people around you. Review your list right now and put an A, B, C, D, or E next to each task or activity. Select your A1 job or project and begin working on it immediately. Discipline yourself to do nothing else until this one job is complete. Practice this ABCDE method every day and on every work or project list before you begin work for the next month. By that time, you will have developed the habit of setting and working on your highest priority tasks, and your future will be assured. You can only get control of your time to the degree to which you've stopped doing things of low value. It is in this hour-by-hour and minute-by-minute choosing of what you will do and simultaneously what you will not do that your entire life is made. Your ability to choose wisely in terms of what you do first, what you do second, and what you do not do at all determines your entire life. The major difference between successful and unsuccessful people is that successful people are always working on tasks of high value, while unsuccessful people are always killing time on tasks of low value. And you are always free to choose. Your choices ultimately determine everything that happens to you. Single handling is one of the most powerful time and personal management techniques of all. Once you have selected your A1 task, you start on that task and you work on it with single-minded concentration until it's 100% complete. If you find yourself getting distracted or you feel tempted to take a break or procrastinate, you'll motivate yourself by continually repeating, back to work, back to work, back to work. Plan your day in advance and create 30, 60, and 90-minute chunks of uninterrupted work time. These are time blocks when you can work without interruption or pause on your most important tasks. The fact is, all important jobs, those with serious potential consequences, require large chunks of single-minded, concentrated time. And Earl Nightingale once said, every great accomplishment of mankind has been preceded by an extended period, often over many years, of concentrated effort. Each day before you begin, and as you go through the day, there are 5 questions that you need to ask and answer over and over again. The first of these questions is, why am I on the payroll? You must be crystal clear about exactly why you are on the payroll, and then focus your time and attention all day long on doing exactly those tasks that make the greatest difference to your business or organization. The second question that you should ask yourself all day long is, what are my highest value activities? Like, if you're not absolutely sure of the answers, go and ask your boss what he or she thinks your highest value activities might be. Whatever the answer, dedicate yourself to working on these specific tasks all day long. The third question you should ask all day long is, what are my key result areas? Your key result areas are those tasks that absolutely, positively must be completed in an excellent fashion if you are to achieve the ultimate results of your job. Remember, your weakest key skill sets the height at which you can use all your other skills. Don't allow yourself to be held back because of the weakness in one area, especially when you can learn anything you need to learn to excel. In that particular area, the fourth question you should ask yourself throughout the day is this: what can I and only I do that done well will make a real difference to my company? This is one of the best questions of all for keeping yourself focused and on track. What is it that you and only you can do that can make the greatest difference in your career? This will do more to help you in your career than any other single decision you can make. The fifth question, and perhaps the best question in all of time management, is this: what is the most valuable use of my time right now? When you discipline yourself to ask and answer this question repeatedly, and you are sure that whatever you're doing is the answer to this question, you will start to accomplish 2 and 3 times as much as the people around you. You will become more and more productive. You will plow through more work of higher value and accomplish greater results than anyone around you. But the key to high productivity and performance is this: dedicate yourself to getting better and better at the few things that you do that account for most of your results. Simultaneously learn to delegate, outsource, and eliminate all those tasks and activities that contribute very little to your results and rewards. The good news is that time management is a skill and a discipline that you can learn. With practice, you can become excellent at time management. With daily practice, make a list of your tasks every day before you begin. Organize your list by priority, separating the urgent from the important, and using the 80-20 rule or the ABCDE method. Choose your most important task and begin working immediately on that task. Discipline yourself to concentrate single-mindedly on that one task or activity until this is 100% complete. Each time you complete an important task, you'll experience a burst of elation, enthusiasm, and heightened self-esteem. You'll feel energized and stronger. You will feel even more motivated to start on and complete your next major task. Whenever you find yourself slowing down or experiencing the urge to procrastinate or delay, repeat to yourself, do it now, do it now, do it now. Discipline yourself to select your most important task and then launch into it immediately and stay with it until it's done. Now, here are 3 things you can do immediately to put these ideas into action. First, make a list of everything you would like to be, do, or have in the months and years ahead. Analyze your list and select those items that can have the greatest possible consequences on your life. Second, make a list of everything you have to do for the coming day. Let your subconscious mind work on your list while you sleep. And third, begin immediately on your most important task and then discipline yourself to concentrate single-mindedly on this one task until it is 100% complete. People who are going to be really successful in the future are willing to make sacrifices in the present in order to guarantee that future. They're willing to invest and save their money even though they don't have a lot, knowing that with compound interest it will grow and grow over time. They're willing to spend an enormous amount of time investing in their children, knowing that this investment in their children, in time, love, affection, and support, will pay off for decades and generations. So sacrifice is the critical word. And sacrifice means that you have the ability to discipline yourself. The wonderful thing is, when you practice self-discipline, it actually makes you happy to practice self-discipline, to take control of yourself and make yourself do the right thing and complete it. Well, what is it that unsuccessful people don't like to do? Well, It turns out to be the same thing that successful people don't like to do either, but they do it anyway because they recognize that that's the price of success. Remember, the same things that unsuccessful people don't like to do are things you don't like to do either. And again, it comes back to our favorite word, sacrifice. Being willing to pay the price in the present to enjoy the great rewards in the future. All right, the next personal quality that assures success is you must determine the price that you'll have to pay in order to be successful, and then resolve to pay that price. Many people say, well, just look at that person. They've got the nice house and the nice car. You never realize that behind the scenes, that person was probably working 16 or 18 hours a day, probably for 5 years before they got their break, and 5 years after they got their break. The reason I've mentioned this is that sometimes people start a business, they think, well, I'm sure I'll have to work a couple of extra hours a day. And as somebody once told me, when you start your own business, you only have to work half the time. You only have to work half days. The only challenge is you can decide which 12 hours it's going to be. In a recent study, they found that in our society, you work 8 hours a day for survival, and everything over that, you work for success. Every additional hour, whether you're working for yourself or someone else, is for success. It's very important that you keep putting in those additional hours, whether it's extra reading, extra study, extra work. You are not allowed to say any other words to a senior officer except, yes, sir, I will do it. No, sir, I didn't do it, and no excuses, sir. That's how they train the top officers in the world, because they know that nothing makes a person weaker or littler than always making excuses. No leader could be a leader if all they did was make excuses. There's a turning point in your life where you become an adult or you remain a child. And it's like a line that you cross. On one side of the line, on the other side of the line is responsibility, where you are now responsible for the rest of your life. On this side of the line is blaming others for your problems. Blaming is the major source of negative emotions and unhappiness and stress and failure. When you step across the line, you say, from now on, I accept complete responsibility for my life and for everything that happens to me. If you have a goal, you accept responsibility for achieving the goal. Blaming makes you weak and angry. It makes you feel inferior and insecure. Motivation only gets one started. To accomplish something, we need to put in work. There often aren't any shortcuts to attaining a significant goal. We may be highly motivated, but we'll get nowhere if we don't act. Many people struggle with engaging in repetitive action over a period necessary to achieve their goals. These people lack what's probably the missing key to the door leading to accomplishment: self-discipline. Discipline generally gets a bad rep, as it sounds unromantic and tiresome and reminds us of the strict regimes of militaries and boarding schools. But self-discipline gets the job done. The Stoics considered discipline a virtue, along with other related qualities like perseverance, endurance, high-mindedness, and self-control are the Stoics' favorite. Hard work and spending their days wisely were praised by the ancient Stoics and are thus embedded in Stoic philosophy. They knew that living in agreement with nature meant for us humans to use our bodies and minds appropriately by being productive, active, and contributing to the whole. People who are going to be really successful in the future are willing to make sacrifices in the present in order to guarantee that future. They're willing to invest and save their money even though they don't have a lot, knowing that with compound interest, it will grow and grow over time. They're willing to spend an enormous amount of time investing in their children, knowing that this investment in their children, in time, love, affection, and support, will pay off for decades and generations. So sacrifice is the critical word. And sacrifice means that you have the ability to discipline yourself. The wonderful thing is, when you practice self-discipline, it actually makes you happy to practice self-discipline, to take control of yourself and make yourself do the right thing and complete it. Well, what is it that unsuccessful people don't like to do? Well, it turns out to be the same thing that successful people don't like to do either, but they do it anyway because they recognize that that's the price of success. Remember, the same things that unsuccessful people don't like to do are things you don't like to do either. And again, it comes back to our favorite word, sacrifice. Being willing to pay the price in the present to enjoy the great rewards in the future. All right, the next personal quality that assures success is you must determine the price that you'll have to pay in order to be successful, and then resolve to pay that price. Many people say, well, just look at that person. They've got the nice house and the nice car. You never realize that behind the scenes, that person was probably working 16 or 18 hours a day, probably for 5 years before they got their break, and 5 years after they got their break. The reason I've mentioned this is that sometimes people start a business, they think, well, I'm sure I'll have to work a couple of extra hours a day. And as somebody once told me, when you start your own business, you only have to work half the time. You only have to work half days. The only challenge is you can decide which 12 hours it's going to be. In a recent study, they found that in our society, you work 8 hours a day for survival, and everything over that, you work for success. Every additional hour, whether you're working for yourself or someone else, is for success. So it's very important that you keep putting in those additional hours, whether it's extra reading, extra study, extra work. You are not allowed to say any other words to a senior officer except, yes, sir, I will do it. No, sir, I didn't do it, and no excuses, sir. That's how they train the top officers in the world, because they know that nothing makes a person weaker or littler than always making excuses. No leader could be a leader if all they did was make excuses. There's a turning point in your life where you become an adult or you remain a child. And it's like a line that you cross. On one side of the line, on the other side of the line is responsibility, where you are now responsible for the rest of your life. On this side of the line is blaming others for your problems. Blaming is the major source of negative emotions and unhappiness and stress and failure. When you step across the line, you say, from now on, I accept complete responsibility for my life and for everything that happens to me. If you have a goal, you accept responsibility for achieving the goal. Blaming makes you weak and angry. It makes you feel inferior and insecure. Motivation only gets one started. To accomplish something, we need to put in work. There often aren't any shortcuts to attaining a significant goal. We may be highly motivated. We'll get nowhere if we don't act. Many people struggle with engaging in repetitive action over a period necessary to achieve their goals. These people lack what's probably the missing key to the door leading to accomplishment: self-discipline. Discipline generally gets a bad rep as it sounds unromantic and tiresome and reminds us of the strict regimes of militaries and boarding schools. But self-discipline gets the job done. The Stoics considered discipline a virtue, along with other related qualities like perseverance, endurance, high-mindedness, and self-control are the Stoics' favored. Hard work and spending their days wisely were praised by the ancient Stoics and are thus embedded in Stoic philosophy. They knew that living in agreement with nature meant for us humans to use our bodies and minds appropriately by being productive, active, and contributing to the whole. Being self-disciplined becomes much easier if we have a strong and clear aim, and it all starts with your thinking. To think well requires that you practice a couple of techniques. The rule is that fast decisions are usually wrong decisions, especially fast decisions involving people or money. So if you're going to make a decision that has long-term consequences, then you have to give it a lot of thought. And the more carefully you think about a decision, the better the quality of that decision will be when you finally make it. Superior people, through experience and through painful experience, learn to take their time in making important decisions. So one of the very best ways that you can develop the discipline of clear thinking is to sit in solitude for 30 to 60 minutes when you have a major problem or a major issue in your life. You'll start to go calm, and all the energy, all the fidgetiness will disappear. After the 30-minute point, ideas will start to flow like a river through your mind. If you've never done it before, first time you do it, you'll get a result, an insight, an idea, a solution to a problem, an idea to achieve a goal. Every time you sit quietly in solitude for 30 to 60 minutes, you'll get ideas that may save you years of hard work. Now, here's another way to think better. Take a sheet of paper and think on paper. Write down every detail. How it happened, what's going on, the problems, the concerns, the costs, who's involved. Sometimes exactly the right choice pops out at you. It becomes clear. But you would not have triggered that superconscious solution if you hadn't taken the time to think on paper. Aristotle once said that wisdom, which is the greatest of all human desires, is the ability to make good decisions. Reflecting on your experiences, and the best way to do that is to go for a walk. Just go for a walk for 30 or 60 minutes. While walking and reflecting upon something going on at work or at home, you'll be amazed at the quality of ideas that will come into your mind. Here's the key to good thinking. Be open to doing something completely different. It opens up your mind and your perspective so you can see all kinds of possibilities that you may not have seen before. Clear thinking is the first discipline. It is the discipline practiced by the most successful, happiest, and wealthiest people in our society. Now, the second major discipline is the discipline of daily goal setting. If you don't have your goals in writing, then they're not really goals at all. They're merely wishes. Write them out very specifically and clearly. Then every single morning, rewrite your major goals in the first person singular as though they already existed. For instance, if your goal is to earn $50,000 a year, every single morning, write, I earn $50,000 a year. Every single evening, take about 5 to 10 minutes. Instead of watching television, sit down and review what you've done in the course of the day. Ask yourself, what have I done right today that's moved me toward my goals? And the second question is, what would I do differently if I had today to do over again? If you ask yourself those two questions, in the next 30 days, you'll accomplish more than you accomplished in the last 6 months. Every time you write your goals down, you're programming them into your subconscious mind. People come up to me at every single seminar and say, it was incredible. I started to write my goals every day, and I accomplished 8 of them in 6 months. I accomplished 5 in a week. I accomplished most of them within 12 months. It's transformed my life. Now, the third discipline is the discipline of courage, because what I've found over the years is that brave people, courageous people, are not people who are not afraid. They're simply people who face their fears, confront their fears. Now, fear and courage tend to be habits. If you're afraid and you force yourself to confront the fear, it becomes a habit to confront the fear whenever you find something that you're afraid of. Most of these fears disappear when you confront them head on. You want to demonstrate to yourself that you can face down a fear and look it square in the eye. So, here's an exercise for you. Identify one fear situation in your life today and use that as your challenge. Use that as your test case. You say, you know what, I'm going to face this fear down. I'm going to hammer it. I'm going to smash it. I'm going to look it right in the eye. I'm going to deal with it directly, head on, like a car hitting a wall, until the fear is gone. Once you've done that, you'll know that nothing that you're afraid of can stop you. Now, the fourth discipline is the discipline of daily time management. Disciplining yourself to plan your days thoroughly before you begin will save you at least 10 minutes for every minute you spend in planning. And according to the research, it will increase your productivity by 25 to 50%, maybe even double your productivity. For every day that you plan, begin the discipline of daily time management by making a list. Start off with a sheet of paper. Again, think on paper, and write down everything you have to do in the course of the day. The very best time to make this list is the night before. You often wake up in the morning with great ideas to implement your plan. Then you organize your list by priority. Before you begin, use the 80-20 rule that says that 20% of the items on your list will account for 80% of the value. It is the key to supercharging the quality of your life and your results. If you can start every morning with a list organized by priority and start on your number one task and stay with it till it's done, you will supercharge your life. You'll get twice as much done on any day where you start and complete your major task first thing than any other day. The discipline of time management then spreads to all your other disciplines. Now, the fifth discipline is the discipline of regular saving and investing. Individuals, families, and even societies are stable and prosperous to the degree to which they save money. Begin today to save 10% of your earnings off the top and never touch it. This is your fund for long-term financial accumulation, and you never use it for any other reason except to assure your financial future. When you regularly put away 10% of your earnings, you soon become comfortable living on the other 90%. Many people start by saving 10% of their income and then graduate to saving 15%, 20%, and even more. And their financial lives change dramatically as a result. Instead of saying, well, I like spending money, you say, I like saving money. And you begin to think of how much you enjoy having money in the bank, how much you enjoy saving, how much you enjoy delayed gratification, how much you enjoy the idea of moving toward financial independence. So soon you develop the habit of living on less than you earn, and you change your thinking from I enjoy spending to I enjoy saving. It's easy to lose money, but it's hard to make it and keep it. And it's the most important discipline of all. Another discipline is to pay cash as often as possible and for as much as possible. The very act of paying cash really hypersensitizes you to how much it is costing and causes you to spend less money. The primary reason why you save your money and accumulate it carefully is that it gives you two things. First of all, it gives you freedom. The second thing it gives you is opportunity. As an adult, you should always have opportunity, money put aside. And when you have it, you feel great about yourself. A person with a little money, a person with no money always feels inferior, anxious, worried, concerned, irritable, and short-tempered. Now, the sixth discipline is the discipline of continuous learning. As Peter Drucker says, knowledge and skill are the keys to the 21st century, and the only thing that will be relevant, the only skill that will be relevant in the 21st century is the ability to learn new skills, because virtually everything you know is becoming obsolete at a rapid rate. If you're not continually learning and upgrading your knowledge and skills, you're not staying in the same place. If you're not constantly learning, you're actually falling behind. So here are the three keys to continuous learning. Number one is read in your field, 30 to 60 minutes each day. The very best places to read, by the way, are books. Read books, the best-selling books written by the most successful people in your field, because books contain a wealth of riches that can enable you to function at a far higher level and get much better results than you could before. The second thing you do is take every course that you possibly can. The courses and seminars that are available to you in your field that are given by professionals, that are courses that have been developed over years and years and years. They have been tested and tested and tested. When you take a course, you can learn enough information in 1 or 2 days, more than you could learn in 2 or 3 years, or maybe even a lifetime, all distilled and put together. The third way that you can upgrade your skills is by listening to audio programs in your car. The more energy you have, the bigger goals you set for yourself, the more you persist when you invest in yourself and you read and learn and upgrade your skills. You're telling yourself, wow, I'm a person with a great future. It's up to me to maximize my potential. Now, the seventh discipline is the discipline of hard work. In the studies of self-made millionaires, again, they said, I didn't have better education, better talent, better knowledge, but I was willing to work harder than anyone else. Most other people are trying to get by on 5 days a week, and then during those 5 days a week, they don't work very hard at all. The harder you work, the luckier you get. The harder you work, the more opportunities you have, the more doors open up to you, the more opportunities you see. If you look at an entrepreneurial startup, a business that's being run by somebody who's really driving it forward, you'll find that the business owner is usually the first one there, works through the whole day, usually the last one to leave at the end of the day. The business owner's got a beautiful home, a house on the hill, beautiful cars, a beautiful life, vacations, a boat in the yacht basin. They're not lucky. They just worked all the time. They work. If you work 3 extra hours, start earlier, work harder, stay later, you'll add 6 hours of productive work to your day. There seems to be a direct relationship between self-discipline and success in every part of life. Well, how do you discipline yourself? You make a list of everything you have to do during the day. You set priorities on your list, and then you start on your most important task first thing, in time management. The number one reason that people don't succeed is because they can't discipline themselves to do the planning and preparation, and then the hard work necessary. Just select your most important task and then work on it single-mindedly will double and triple and even 5 times the quality and quantity of your output, your productivity, and eventually your income. This is one of the most powerful of all time management techniques. This means that when you start with a task, you don't do anything else until that task is complete. Task completion motivates you to complete more tasks, and the bigger the task that you complete, the happier you feel, and the more motivated you are to complete even bigger tasks. This is one of the great secrets of success known by top people. How do you practice visualization? You create clear, vivid, exciting, emotional pictures of your goals as if they were already a reality. See your goal there. They were already achieved. Imagine yourself enjoying the accomplishment of the goal and visualizing Take a few moments to create the emotions that would accompany the successful achievement of your goal. We say, get the feeling if you would be proud and happy. Visualization is perhaps the most powerful faculty of value to help you achieve your goals faster than you ever thought possible. When you use a combination of clear goals combined with visualization and emotionalization, you activate your superconscious mind. Your superconscious mind is perhaps the most powerful faculty that you have available to you. Your superconscious mind activates the law of attraction and begins attracting into your life people, circumstances, ideas, and resources that will help you achieve your goals even faster. The incredible thing about goal mastery is that it's really life mastery. And the sooner you begin to develop successful habits, the sooner you'll reap the financial, personal, and professional rewards that go along with them. Practice and repetition over time, and we can override bad habits with good habits. There are some habits that are good to have because they make things automatic and easy. You don't even have to think about them. Ed Foreman said the rule of success: good habits are hard to form but easy to live with. Bad habits are easy to form but hard to live with. The rule is to form good habits and make them your masters. So what you say to yourself, if I had a habit of being punctual, a habit of planning every day in advance, it's what would serve my life. Surprise, you look around and find really successful people, they have these habits, and nobody had them to start with. With regard to habits, everything is hard before it's easy. The reason that people do not develop good habits is that they're lazy and undisciplined. They just simply cannot stick to it until the habit locks in and becomes automatic and easy. Once the habit is locked in, it's easier to do it than not to do it because it becomes your new comfort zone. Discipline is the master key to riches. And this is really the most important key of all. The ability to discipline yourself, to do it whether you feel like it or not, to just keep on keeping on until it becomes a habit. Every step you take toward becoming more disciplined actually raises your self-esteem and self-confidence and makes it easier for you to take the next step. It's the foundation skill that makes everything. If you develop discipline, you can accomplish anything in life for the rest of your life. Whether you're a college graduate and learn stuff that you need to learn, you can do stuff that you want to do. You know that you can persist and discipline yourself to get through the courses and the final exams. The reference group is really important. People that you go to church with, people in your political party who believe the same way you are. Your choice of a reference group determines 95% of your success because you always strive to act like your reference group. It's so important when you start to associate with better, more successful people. You start to become like them and think like them and feel like them and walk into talk and dress and act like they do. 2 times during the day when your subconscious is most open to new information. The first is at nighttime just before you fall asleep. If you write out your goals before you go to bed, your subconscious mind works on your goals all night long. And in the morning, you'll wake up with great ideas. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night with an idea that's fantastic to achieve your goals, that you can then implement the next day. So just before you fall asleep, write down your goals. But as you fall off to sleep, think about your goals. Visualize your goals as complete. Imagine your goals. Think about success. The second thing is in the morning, the first hour after you wake up. When you wake up in the morning, your mind is most amenable to new suggestions. If you think of yourself in a negative way from the past, always cancel it. When you make a mistake, you respond with, next time I'll do it this way. Next time I'll do it that way. And what that does, it cancels the mistake and forces you to face the future. And the future is always bright. Remember, you become what you say to yourself. You become what you think about. You become what you teach. A proven way to speed up your mental programming is to express an attitude of confident expectations. Everything is going to work out fine. Don't worry, it'll be all right. We'll be there. We'll be fine. It'll work out. Something will happen. And something always happens for these people because an attitude of confident expectations is the mental chemical. The more positive you are, the more confident you expect that things will work out, the faster they work out. Everything that's happening in your life is part of a big plan to make you big success. Have this attitude that everything that's happened, every mistake, every failure you've ever had in your life was sent to you as a gift to help you to be successful. The negative person always looks the gift horse in the mouth. They always look at it and say, Why should this happen to me? The positive person, when they have a reversal, says, what can I learn from this that will help me to be better in the future? What can I learn that will help me to be better? What is the lesson that's been sent to me as a gift to help me to be successful for the rest of my life? I realize that when you have a major setback or difficulty, it's been sent to you as a gift, as long as your goal is clear. It's a gift. It's a lesson to help you to succeed. It is not a stumbling block. It is a stepping stone to success. So look for the good in everything that happened. The big lie theory now. The big lie theory says if you repeat any statement over and over again often enough, even the most intelligent person will come to believe it. The great truth says that when you decide that you want to double your income or lose weight or start your own business or become financially prosperous, and you decide it because of your natural skepticism and your natural negativity and all the experiences you've had in the past that have caused you to be doubtful, to question whether it's possible, you'll have a big D or disbelief. The day will be disbelief. You want it. It would be nice, but you'll disbelieve it, Yar. Each time you say it, you'll disbelieve it. It becomes, you begin to believe it less and less, like you get a raise, or you get an idea, or you get a promotion, or something happens with a new product, and you start thinking, hey, and you're making more money. You're saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe there is something to this, maybe it is possible, and it's a scary thought, and you start to develop a little bit of belief, a little tiny B maybe. Maybe there's a 1 chance at 100 that I could do it, and then you keep repeating it, and you begin to believe it more and more. Your belief starts to grow and grow until you reach the point in a certain period of time where your belief is just as great and as deeply entrenched as your disbelief. First of all, you believe it'll disbelieve, 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 and then you start to believe, and believe it starts to materialize in your life. It just starts to come true for you so that you can be and have anything you want, anything you can hold in your mind on a continuing basis you can have. It'll be completely black. There will be no need education at all of achieving that goal. But at a certain point, it'll start to appear and get clearer and clearer, and there will be in your life. Norman Vincent Peale once wrote, when every physical and mental resource is focused, one's power to solve a problem multiplies tremendously. Why am I on the payroll? This is one of the most important questions you ever ask and answer over and over again throughout your career. If you're not crystal clear about why you're on the payroll and what results you've been hired to accomplish, it's very hard for you to perform at your best and get paid more and promoted faster. In its simplest terms, the answer is that you've been hired to get specific results. Each job can be broken down into about 5 to 7 key result areas, seldom more. These are the results that you absolutely, positively have to get to, fulfill your responsibilities, and make your maximum contribution to your organization. The key result areas are similar to the vital functions of the body. An absence of any one of these vital functions leads to the death of the organism. By the same token, your failure to perform in a critical result area of your work can lead to the end of your job as well. Key results are always central to your work and determine your success or failure in your job. A key result area is something that you must achieve to succeed at your job. It's a task area for which you are completely responsible. If you don't do it, it will not be done by someone else. Once you have determined your key result areas, the second step is for you to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of these areas. Where are you strong and where are you weak? Where are you getting excellent results? And where are you underperforming? Your weakest key result area sets the height at which you can use all your other skills and abilities. You could be exceptional in 6 out of 7 of your key result areas, but really poor in the 7th. And your poor performance in the 7th area will hold you back and determine how much you achieve with all your other skills. This weakness will act as a drag on your effectiveness and be a constant source of friction and frustration. One of the major reasons for procrastination and delay in the workplace is that people avoid jobs and activities in those areas where they have performed poorly in the past. Instead of setting a goal and making a plan to improve in a particular area, most people avoid that area altogether. The reverse of this is that the better you become in a particular skill area, The more motivated you will be to perform that function, the less you will procrastinate, and the more determined you will be to get it finished. Everybody has both strengths and weaknesses. Refuse to rationalize, justify, or defend your areas of weakness. Instead, identify them clearly, set a goal, and make a plan to become very good in each of those areas. Just think you may be only one critical skill away from top performance in your job. Here's one of the greatest questions you will ever ask and answer. What one skill, if developed and done in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest positive impact on your career? You should use this question to guide your career for the rest of your life. Find out, and then go to work to bring up your performance in this area. If anyone else is excellent at a particular key result area, this is proof that you can become excellent as well if you decide to. One of the fastest and best ways to stop procrastinating and get more things done faster is for you to become absolutely excellent in your key result areas. This can be as important as anything else you do in your life and career. How you can put these ideas to work immediately. Identify the key result areas of your work. Write down the key results you have to achieve to do your job in an excellent fashion. Determine the one key skill that, if done in an excellent manner, would help you the most in your work right now. Make a habit of doing this analysis regularly for the rest of your career. Never stop improving. This decision alone can change your life. The most important thing you do for your success is to take control of the suggested elements in your environment. Be sure that what you are seeing and listening to is consistent with the goals that you want to achieve. Listen to educational audio programs in your car. You can become an expert in your field by simply listening to educational audio programs as you drive from place to place. Attend seminars given by experts in your field. Take additional courses and learn everything you possibly can from the experts. Ask them questions. Write them letters, read their books, read their articles, and listen to people with proven track records in the area in which you want to be successful. It can save you years of work and thousands of dollars. Have a vision for yourself and a vision for your life. The key to having a vision is to have a dream. They say in the song, you've got to have a dream if you want to make a dream come true, then you can fulfill your dreams. All the great movers and shakers throughout history have been dreamers. They've been people with visions. All leaders have vision. What most people do because of negative experiences, fear of failure, and so on, is if they have a vision at all, they tone it down. So it's so small and safe that it doesn't turn them on, it doesn't excite them. They wonder why life isn't exciting. A beautiful line I read not long ago said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Which means to have a vision, and even though the vision is in the air or the sky, then build a foundation under your dreams. Every one of us has had an experience. When we were small, we had a vision of being grown up and having our own cars. As we grew older, we had a vision of having our own homes and our own families. We fulfill all our visions. The wonderful thing is this, we always tend to achieve our goals. The problem is that our goals are set so low that even when we do achieve them, they don't turn us on. They don't fill us with enthusiasm. So dream big dreams if you like, and focus on results, not activities. Be clear about the results that you're trying to accomplish. All peak performers are result-oriented. All losers and underachievers tend to be activity-oriented. They work very hard, sometimes frantically, and sometimes longer hours than you do, but they lose sight of the results. Ben Trago, the strategic thinker, said, the very worst thing in the world is to do very efficiently what need not be done at all. Many of us work very hard to do very efficiently what needs not be done at all. Anyone who's ever had employees will tell you that every single day you come across your employees doing something very diligently, but it's completely irrelevant to the success of the business. Focus on results. A key question to ask yourself in your working life, it's one of the most important key questions, is what results are expected of me? Not what activities, but what results? What outputs am I supposed to produce in my job? I'm going to give you a simple word that you can use for the rest of your career, which will double your income. The word is how. From now on, whenever you have a goal, the only question you ask is how. Whenever you have a problem to solve, the only question you ask is how. If you have an obstacle to overcome, the only question you ask is how. The wonderful thing about the word how is that it triggers ideas. The ideas are all for actions that you can take immediately. When you take those ideas, you start to get feedback, which enables you to correct your course and take even better steps to achieve your goals. So the average person, when they have a problem, complains and blames other people about the problem. Top people, when they have a problem or goal, they simply say, well, how can I achieve this goal? They try this and then try that and try something else, but it never occurs to them that they will not eventually be successful. Most of the time, the key to success is, first of all, understanding yourself and understanding your world. That takes some time, some study. And the second is effort. You have to work. You have to be willing to make the efforts necessary. You want to become physically fit. If you want to lose weight, there's a lot of work that you have to do. Unfortunately, most people, the bottom 80% of people, are lazy. Actually, there are three types of lazy. They're lazy, very lazy, and bone lazy. One of the greatest problems we have in our society today is lazy people who want the rewards that hard-working people get, and they call the lazy people the average person. They call successful people the millionaires and billionaires without realizing that all of those people started with nothing. And many of them were poor, many of them were immigrants, and it took 20 to 30 years to become financially successful. If you're successful, it's just luck, So therefore, you don't really deserve it. It should be taken from you and given to others. The fact is that it takes tremendous effort for you and me to achieve any kind of success, but the fact is that there's no obstacle standing between you and any goal that you can set for yourself. You just have to learn how to do it. Every single person who is successful today was once a failure. Everyone in the top 10% started in the bottom 10, and they set very clear goals. Have a vision for yourself and a vision for your life. The key to having a vision is to have a dream. They say in the song, you've got to have a dream if you want to make a dream come true, then you can fulfill your dreams. All the great movers and shakers throughout history have been dreamers. They've been people with visions. All leaders have vision. What most people do because of negative experiences, fear of failure, and so on, is if they have a vision at all, they tone it down. So it's so small and safe that it doesn't turn them on, it doesn't excite them. They wonder why life isn't exciting. A beautiful line I read not long ago said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Which means to have a vision, and even though the vision is in the air or the sky, then build a foundation under your dreams. Every one of us has had an experience when we were small. We had a vision of being grown up and having our own cars. As we grew older, we had a vision of having our own homes and our own families. We fulfill all our visions. The wonderful thing is this. We always tend to achieve our goals. The problem is that our goals are set so low that even when we do achieve them, they don't turn us on. They don't fill us with enthusiasm. So dream big dreams if you like, and focus on results, not activities. Be clear about the results that you're trying to accomplish. All peak performers are result-oriented. All losers and underachievers tend to be activity-oriented. They work very hard, sometimes frantically, and sometimes longer hours than you do, but they lose sight of the results. Ben Trago, the strategic thinker, said, the very worst thing in the world is to do very efficiently what need not be done at all. Many of us work very hard to do very efficiently what needs not be done at all. Anyone who's ever had employees will tell you that every single day you come across your employees doing something very diligently, but it's completely irrelevant to the success of the business. Focus on results. A key question to ask yourself in your working life, it's one of the most important key questions, is what results are expected of me? Not what activities, but what results, what outputs am I supposed to produce in my job? I'm going to give you a simple word that you can use for the rest of your career, which will double your income. The word is how. From now on, whenever you have a goal, the only question you ask is how. Whenever you have a problem to solve, the only question you ask is how. If you have an obstacle to overcome, the only question you ask is how. The wonderful thing about the word how is that it triggers ideas. The ideas are all for actions that you can take immediately. When you take those ideas, you start to get feedback, which enables you to correct your course and take even better steps to achieve your goals. So the average person, when they have a problem, complains and blames other people about the problem. Top people, when they have a problem or goal, they simply say, well, how can I achieve this goal? They try this and then try that and try something else, but It never occurs to them that they will not eventually be successful. Most of the time, the key to success is first of all understanding. Understanding yourself and understanding your world. That takes some time, some study. And the second is effort. You have to work. You have to be willing to make the efforts necessary. You want to become physically fit. If you want to lose weight, there's a lot of work that you have to do. Unfortunately, most people, the bottom 80% of people, are lazy. Actually, there are three types of lazy. They're lazy, very lazy, and bone lazy. One of the greatest problems we have in our society today is lazy people who want the rewards that hard-working people get, and they call the lazy people the average person. They call successful people the millionaires and billionaires without realizing that all of those people started with nothing. Many of them were poor, many of them were immigrants, and it took 20 to 30 years to become financially successful. If you're successful, it's just luck, So therefore, you don't really deserve it. It should be taken from you and given to others. The fact is that it takes tremendous effort for you and me to achieve any kind of success, but the fact is that there's no obstacle standing between you and any goal that you can set for yourself. You just have to learn how to do it. Every single person who is successful today was once a failure. Everyone in the top 10% started in the bottom 10. And they set very clear goals. They learned specific things and did things differently from the average person. And their life took off like that Mercedes-Benz touching on the gas pedal. Their lives changed. Sometimes the absence of one piece of knowledge can hold you back for years. And I say never allow yourself to be held back because of the absence of a piece of knowledge or a skill, because all business skills are learnable, all money-making skills are learnable, all success skills are learnable. Everybody who knows them now at some point did not know them at all. So you can learn anything you need to learn. I had a very poor education. So I thought other people were smarter than me. And if other people are smarter than you, it means that you are dumber than they are. Then I thought, well, if they're smarter than me, then they are worth more than I am. But if other people are worth more, then you must be worth less. Now, the feeling of being worthless is the biggest single problem in the world today. The feeling of being not very valuable and not very important, which leads to low self-esteem, negativity, anger, and depression. It leads to giving up, not even trying. It's the biggest problem in the world today. High self-esteem, confidence in yourself is the greatest blessing. But here's what I found. Nobody is smarter than you. Nobody's better than you. Some people have different talents and abilities, but talents and abilities are spread quite evenly. So you have more talent and ability than you could use in 100 lifetimes. The essence of all human wisdom is self-knowledge and self-understanding. Understanding who you are and why you think and feel the way you do. Because that foundation is called intrapersonal intelligence. It's really understanding yourself, understanding your strengths and weaknesses. You'll find that superior people are very honest about themselves. They know that they're not good at certain things, and they're not defensive. They're better at other things, and they're quite proud of it. But if you set peace of mind as your highest goal, you'll probably never make another mistake. If you achieve everything else in the world, but do not achieve your own peace of mind, you will consider yourself a failure. So you have to keep asking yourself, what are the things that occur that give me peace of mind? When do I enjoy the highest level of peace of mind? When you have no fear and no negative emotions, your mind is like a vacuum. When you have solved all your problems and everything is fine, you just feel completely at peace. Those are what I call the peak experiences of your life. Those are when you are the happiest of all. Here are 3 secrets of self-made millionaires. They started off, and they made all their money in 1 generation. Number 1, they put financial independence above all other financial considerations. They never buy new cars. Why? Because if you buy a new car, you're paying $20,000 in depreciation just for the pleasure of driving it off the lot the first time. Instead, they buy cars that are 2 or 3 years old, that are still under warranty, and that are in excellent condition. All the money that the average person is spending in buying a new car every couple of years, they save and invest. Number 2, self-made millionaires practice frugality, 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 frugality with every expenditure. They spend the first 20 years of their earning life being cheap, 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 and then they save and invest the money. By the time they're 45, they're millionaires. They practice frugality until they reach the magic millionaire mark. Number 3, they spend 10 to 20 hours each month studying their money and how to invest it and grow it. They take money seriously and they become very knowledgeable and skilled in the business of money. They're being knowledgeable and skilled in how to deploy their funds. Even when they don't have much money, people making $30,000, $35,000 a year end up as millionaires by the time they're 50, just because they invested their money so carefully. Now, here's a final rule with regard to self-made millionaires, and it's this. The rule is that you become what you think about most of the time. The average self-made millionaire spends 10 to 20 hours a month studying their money. They spend 10 to 20 times as much as the average person, and as a result, they make better decisions. They don't get into debt, and they get out of debt quickly. And this must be your goal as well. Now, here are some key principles for getting out of debt. Number 1, pay yourself first. The average person earns a living, takes their paycheck, pays all their bills, spends all their bills, spends all their money, and whatever's left over they save. What you do is you take the first money out of your paycheck and save it before your expenditures. Your goal is to save 10 to 20% of your income off the top, and even more over time. Remember, whatever you do repeatedly becomes a habit, and you become comfortable doing it. Sometimes I say to my audiences, well, how many people here, from the time you took your first job to today, have already doubled your income? That's cool. You see, you're still in debt. Increasing your income does not solve your financial problems. Only getting your financial problems, only getting your finances under control, which means paying yourself first. Start with $1, $30 a month. That's $1 a day. And what you do is you go down immediately to your bank and you open a separate bank account. And this is your financial freedom account. And you can open it with $10 or $20. And from now on, you deposit your savings in this account. And at the end of the month, you go down and you put in $30. Put every unexpected amount in this account. Once the money goes into this account, you never take it out. Money only goes one way in this account. It goes in, it never goes out, except to be carefully invested where it can get the very best return. Now, the third key principle in getting out of debt is to activate the laws of accumulation and attraction. Every great financial fortune is an accumulation of many, many small amounts of money, which accumulate to make you financially independent. If you start to attract more money into your life, keep putting it into this account. You will be astonished at how much you have. The fourth principle for getting out of debt is to delay, defer, and put off every expenditure that you possibly can. The more time you take to decide, the better decision you will make. In most cases, if you give yourself time to think about a purchase, you won't make the purchase at all. You will understand that there are better things you can do with the money, that you don't really need it. Do you find that the purchase, or whatever it is, contains no emotion, no joy, no excitement? Now, number 5, and this is very important. This is what will make you rich. It will break Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law says it is. No matter how much you make, you seem to spend that much and a little bit more beside. Throughout your life, if you double, triple, quadruple your income, you'll double or triple or quadruple your expenses, and you just simply never get ahead. So your job is to resist the natural tendency to increase your expenditure as your income goes up over time. And what you do is you practice what is called number 6, the wedge formula for financial independence. The wedge formula says that as your income goes up, your expenses go up. So from this point forward, you spend only 50% of your increased income on lifestyle, and you save the other 50%. If you do this, the most remarkable things will happen. Let's say in the course of the coming year, your income goes up by $1,000. Well, what you do is you resolve in advance to save 500 of that into your financial freedom account and spend only 500 or less. Once you make a habit of this, you'll become quite comfortable living on the remaining amount. You know, when I say you should cut back on your expenditure, but it's not hard for you to promise now to save future increases. Remember, the best earning years of your life lie ahead. You're going to earn more money in the years ahead than you earned in your entire life if you just save half of the increase over your current income and let it grow with a miracle of compound interest. Now, 7 open separate bank accounts for your home, your new home that you want to buy, car, boat, debt reduction, and so on. 1 for financial freedom that you keep putting 10% or more into. And then you open another bank account if you want to buy a boat, and another bank account if you want to buy a car. Your main bucket is for savings to cover your expenditures if you lose your job. Your second bucket is for investments. Your third bucket is for the things that you want to buy. By moving your money around with these buckets, you'll get out of debt. You'll end up spending and living on 60 to 70% of your income and saving and investing and improving your lifestyle with a balance. Now, in getting out of debt, one of the most powerful things you do is to increase your income. Sometimes we ask this question, what is your most valuable financial asset? It's your ability to earn money. You could lose everything and be penniless, but as long as you still have your earning ability, those tools and techniques and methods between your ears, you can earn a wonderful living and earn it all back again. Here's another question. Would you like to double your income? Everybody says yes. You are going to double your income. It's inevitable if you work on increasing your earning ability by constantly investing in yourself. Your income will go up at 10, 15, 20, 25% per annum. And once you've doubled your income, double it again. So resolve today to be the best in your field. Join the top 10%. Join the top highest money earners in your field and earn the same money that they do. And remember this, what others have done, you can do as well. And the law of 3 says that 90% of the value of your contribution, your earning ability, is contained in 3 things that you do at your job. Always ask yourself, what are the 3 most valuable things that you do? If you're in management, the 3 most important things you do are to recruit, train, and manage. Recruit the best people, train them thoroughly, manage them carefully, and this is the great breakthrough. If your weakest key skill sets the height of your income, your weakest key skill sets the height of your earning ability. Ask this question, what one skill, if you are absolutely excellent at it, would help you the most to double your income? Double your earning ability, double your value. Set this one skill as a goal. Write it down. Make a plan. Make a list of everything that you could do to master this skill, and then work on this skill by becoming a little bit better every day. And you could be only one skill away from doubling your income, as you probably are. And you probably know what that one skill is. And even if you don't like the skill, even if you're not comfortable with the skill, set it as a goal. Make a plan. Work on it every day. And here's my promise. A month, a year from now, you'll look back and you'll have mastered the skill. And for the rest of your life, become a do-it-yourself project. For the rest of your life, concentrate on the one skill that can increase your earning ability faster than any other skill. So you're always working on getting better. There's 3 keys to lifelong learning. These 3 keys to lifelong learning. These 3 keys changed my life when I was in my 20s, and I never looked back. Number 1, read 30 to 60 minutes in your field each day. If you read 30 to 60 minutes in your field each day, you'll read 1 book a week. 1 book a week will be 50 books a year. Each year, by simply reading 30 to 50 books that will help you in your field. If you read 50 books a year, that's 500 books in 10 years. At the very least, you need a bigger house just to hold your books. Number 2, listen to educational audio programs in your car. Audio listening has been considered to be the biggest breakthrough in education since the invention of the printing press. You can get so many valuable ideas, and you can start them and stop them and turn them off and run them back and repeat them at your convenience. By listening to the audio programs of top people, you're hiring these people to sit there and talk to you at your convenience, to stop talking when you want to think, to start talking when you want to think, to start talking again when you push the button, and so on. The average person drives 500 to 1,000 hours per year. That's the equivalent of 12 to 25 40-hour weeks. That's the equivalent of 1 to 2 full-time university semesters. And number 3, attend every course and seminar live and online that can help you to improve your earning ability. You can learn from the finest experts in the world, and you can learn the most important subjects you need to know to develop the critical skills you need to have to dramatically increase your earning ability. One day with an expert in your field has changed the lives of many people, and it can change your life as well. The rule is to spend at least 3% of your income investing back into yourself and becoming better. Coming back is the best place to invest it would be back into learning how to become better at what you did in the first place to earn the money. If you had $100,000, the very best investment of all is not penny stocks or something else, is to invest it in yourself in becoming really, really good at what you do. Invest it in your earning ability and getting into the top 10% of people in your field. Now, the key is to be successful. Do fewer things, but do more valuable things and do them more often and get better. Spend more time on the most valuable things that you do and get better and better at those. Skinny, that will give you a higher payoff in your life than simply getting better at what you do most of the time. So here are the 10 keys to getting out of debt and achieving financial independence. Number 1, set clear written goals for every part of your financial life. The very fact that you have clear written goals and plans will increase the likelihood of you achieving those goals and plans by about 10 times. Number 2, do a complete financial analysis of your financial situation today. Sit down with a piece of paper, add it all up, figure out what you're worth, figure out your debts, figure out your minimum payments, figure out how much you're earning. Number 3, draw up a monthly and annual budget and stick to it. Determine exactly how much you're going to spend on your residence, your home, your car, your entertainment, your food, your clothing, and so on, and stick to that budget every week, every month. W. Clement Stone once said, if you cannot save money, the seeds of greatness are not in you. Number 4, reach back eating out. You know there was always be looking for ways to cut your costs. Number 5, pay yourself first. Remember, you are a creature of habit. Get into the habit of living on less than you earn. Number 6, practice the wedge formula for success and save or invest 50% of every increase in your income from now on. Number 7, open financially. It begins to accumulate over time. Number 8, dedicate yourself to lifelong learning. All the riches and rewards and happiness and respect and esteem go to the people who are good at what they do. Number 9, continually visualize yourself as debt-free and financially independent. Just keep talking to yourself and visualizing that picture until it comes true. And finally, number 10, back your plans with persistence and determination. Once you start, never give up until you achieve your goal. Remember, the great rule for financial success throughout the ages is simply spend less than you earned. Yeah, I have some good news for you. More people are going to make more money in the next few years than have been made in all of human history. In the year 1900, there were 5,000 millionaires in America. In the year 2000, there were 5 million millionaires. That's an increase of 1,000 times. Now, there was a leveling off in 2001, 2002. In the last 2 years, the number of millionaires has jumped 33%. It's jumped to 8.2 million millionaires in America, and virtually all of them are self-made, which means they started without a pot to what in or a window to throw it out of. And they've made it in one generation. When we look at the wealthiest people in America today, Warren Buffett, Michael Dell, of course, Bill Gates, Paul Allen, and the Walton family, all first-generation multi-billionaires. We have a $12 trillion economy today that is growing at the rate of $500 to $600 billion a year, and all that money is going through somebody's fingers, and your job is to make sure it goes through yours and some of it sticks. Is that a good goal for today? And my job is to show you how to do it. The good news is that all the answers have been found. Self-made millionaires have been studied exhaustively. They've been analyzed. They've been interviewed by the hundreds of thousands and millions. And what we know is exactly who they are and what they do and how they think and how they tick and the decisions they make and the things that they do and they don't do. And the wonderful thing is if you do what other successful people do, you eventually get the same result that they do. Now, some people say, well, I started off without any money and I I don't have any money now. Well, join the crowd. Nobody's got any money. Most people are broke up until their 40s and 50s. So if you're broke today, you're just one of the gang. The only question is, do you stay there? And the answer is no. Now, when I started off in this many years ago, I came from very poor beginnings. I did not graduate from high school. I finished in a half of a class that makes the top half. When I left school, I dropped out of high school. I could only get laboring jobs. I was told, by the way, if you don't get a good education, you won't do well in life. You don't get good grades, you won't get a good job. You'll go to college, you won't do well, and so on. And I believed that for a long time until I found there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people who dropped out of high school who went on to become millionaires and billionaires as well. The reason I say that to you, by the way, is don't let it hold you back. Don't let any experience that you've ever had in your life act as a brake on your potential, because there's hundreds of thousands of people who've had it worse than you could ever dream of, who've gone on to accomplish wonderful things. So, I worked in laboring jobs for several years. I worked in construction. I worked on farms and ranches. I worked in factories putting nuts on bolts hour after hour. And one day, in a state of frustration, I began asking this question. Why is it that some people are more successful than others? In the Bible, there's a line that says, seek and ye shall find, for all who seek, find it. Ask and the door will be open. So I began asking other successful people, what are you doing differently from me? And they told me, and I did it, and I got better results. I got into sales when I could no longer get a laboring job, like many of you. And in sales, I noticed that one of the guys in my company was making 10 times as much as anybody else. And he was selling the same product out of the same office, at the same price to the same people, under the same conditions. He was making 10 times as much as anybody else. So I went and asked him, what are you doing differently from me? And he told me, and I did it. Now, what I discovered, which changed my life and which brought us here today, is I discovered the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect, sowing and reaping, action and reaction, it's a great universal or iron law of the universe. What it says is that everything happens for a reason. Is that there are no causeless effects. Is that even if we don't know what is causing the effect, we trace it back. It's the basis of the scientific process of all medical research, of all marketing, of all business, is if you can define an effect that you want, you can trace it back and find somebody who at one time did not have that effect, and then find out what they did, and then do the same things, and you eventually get the same results. We say that success is not an accident. Failure is not an accident. Success leaves tracks. So if you just follow the tracks of other successful people, no matter where you're starting from, you eventually get to the same place that they get. Well, this was a shocker for me, because, and I learned later in psychology, by the way, that one of the two most important things we need to have to be happy and healthy is a sense of control, a feeling that we are in control of our lives, that things are happening for a reason, and a sense of coherence, a feeling that things fit together. Well, when I realized the law of cause and effect explained everything, I thought, wow. So in sales, I went to the top of my sales force. I read and I learned, attended courses, and especially I applied what I learned. And then when I got into sales management, I again read the books and took the courses and asked for advice. And when I got into real estate and importation and development and manufacturing and distribution and a whole series of businesses over the years, first thing I did is I asked, how does it work? How do people succeed in this field? And then I buried myself and immersed myself. I spent hours and hours and hours studying, and then I did what the most successful people did. The interesting point. We say that nature is neutral. In other words, nature doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care if you're tall or short or male or female or black or white, educated or uneducated. Nature doesn't care. All that nature cares is that you do what successful people do. It's like making a recipe. Nature doesn't care if you follow a recipe. If you follow the recipe exactly, you get the dish. Nature doesn't care who's doing it. And that's the wonderful thing about our society. It's basically like justice. It's blind. Yes, nature doesn't care. In fact, there are a lot of people who are not as smart and not as talented as you, who are doing vastly better than you, not because they're better, but because they're just following proven success methods. There's nothing that will make you madder than to see somebody who's dumber than you, who's making more money than you. Right? Yeah, that experience. So what we do is we use proven success methods. We just find out what they are, and we do them over and over again. Quick point, nothing works the first time. Okay? Please understand that. Nothing works the first time. What is the average number of times that a person tries with a new goal before they give up? Can you guess? Well, the average is less than one. Because most people give up before they try even once. They say, that's a great goal. I'd love to be financially independent. And then they give up. They don't even try. They say, but I couldn't because of this and because of that, and so on. And then they move away to a wonderful place called Sunday Isle. You ever heard of Sunday Isle? Someday I'll start saving money. Someday I'll get out of debt. Someday I'll lose weight. Someday I'll start a business. Someday I'll get serious about my finances. And most people live on someday. Your job and my job is to vote yourself off the island, right? We start taking control of our lives. Well, about some years ago, I was called by a major businessman, and he asked me if I would do a talk for his 800 entrepreneurs that own separate franchises within his organization on how to become a self-made millionaire. And I said, sure. When you're a young speaker, you agree to speak on any subject. Sure, I'll speak on that subject. Now, I was just like most people. When I was young, I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And when I hit 30, I put it off to 35. And as I got to 35, you put it off to 40. And then you kind of just don't look at it anymore. You forget about it and feel the deck is stacked against you. Well, I was about 38, 39 when he called me up and asked me. I said, sure, no problem. And I said, now, what do I know about self-made millionaires? And this is a shocker. I didn't know anything. Oh, I knew that they had more than $1 million, but that's a real basic piece of knowledge, you know. So I think, what do I know about science? I began to study them. And that's when I found out that they've been studied so thoroughly. Yes, we know everything there is to know about them. They are a source of incredible fascination, and there's 50 years of research. So I began to read the studies and find out where they came from and what they did and how they thought and where they started and the decisions they made and the kind of people they were. One of the things that I learned, by the way, is that becoming a self-made millionaire is not the important thing. What is really important is the person you have to become a self-made millionaire. You have to become a totally different human being. One of my friends says that in order to achieve something you've never achieved before, you have to become someone you've never been before. And it's a really important insight, is the qualities that you need to develop, qualities on the inside to become a self-made millionaire, are incredible qualities that make you a vastly better person. Not only better in terms of character, determination, discipline, decision-making, strength, and so on, but they make you a far better person. They round out your character in a far better way. So that the real payoff of becoming wealthy is not because you can eat more, because how many more meals can you eat? How many more clothes can you wear? Because it's the kind of person that you become, and then the kind of people that you associate, the kind of life that you have. And so the things that we're going to talk about now, and I know that you're some of the smartest people in our country, so I'm going to give you these ideas very quickly, like dealing cards. What I found in my research is that there's a series of qualities that self-made millionaires have. If you have these qualities, your success is virtually guaranteed. And if you don't have these qualities, the qualities are learnable. Point number one is that all business or sales skills are learnable. All financial skills are learnable. If you can drive a car, you can learn any skill. You can drive a car and you can learn the skill. And number two is you're probably only one skill away from doubling your income right now. You're probably only one skill away from setting yourself on the road to becoming a self-made millionaire. That turns out to be the case for almost everyone. And if you don't know what that skill is, maybe over the course of the time we spend together, it'll jump out at you. But whatever it is, you've got to find it out and go to work on it, because it is learnable. It's a learnable skill. People say, well, I've never been very good with money. Well, get over it. Fact of the matter is, you can learn what you need to learn to achieve anything that you want to achieve. So the success secrets of self-made millionaires: give yourself a score of 1 to 10. And if you are weak on one of these, it can be enough to hold you back. If you're strong on all of these, then there's no limit to what you can accomplish. The first is to dream big dreams. Dream big dreams. Practice what is called back from the future thinking and project forward. Develop a vision of yourself as happy, healthy, wealthy, thin. Practice what top people practice, which is what is called idealization. You project forward several years and you imagine that your life is perfect in every way. Imagine that you have no limitation. Imagine that you have all the time and all the money and all the friends and all the contacts and all the education and all the experience, and that you could be or have or do anything you want in life. If you could, what would it be? If your life were perfect in 5 years, what would it look like? How much would you be earning? How much would you be worth? What kind of a family life would you have? What kind of health would you have? What kind of car would you be driving? What would your life be like if you could wave a magic wand and make it perfect in every way? Now, what we have found is this is the starting point of great riches, and it's the starting point of great success in life, is for you to have a dream or a vision of a wonderful future. Here's an exercise that we give people in our audiences, is take a sheet of paper and make up what is called a dream list. Now, imagine this is kind of like a kid's Christmas list, and It just allows you to just run wild and just write down everything that you could think of that you could possibly want. I had a friend who I taught this to, and he got so excited about it, he bought a spiral notebook, and he began writing, and he'd go through the newspaper, and every single thing he saw in the newspaper that was nice, he wrote it down as goals. He ended up, first time through, with 330 goals. By the end of the month, he had 500 things that he wanted. The interesting thing was that his life exploded. He activated the law of attraction. He began to attract into his life people, circumstances, ideas and resources, the insights that began to move him toward the accomplishment of the goals, began to move the goals toward him. Number 2 is to do what you love to do. Whenever you find people who are really successful in life, they're people who do what they love to do. They love their work. The great rule for success in life is to find something that you love to do and then find a way to make a living doing it. Now, when you find what you love to do, it'll be something that gives you energy, it motivates you, it enthuses you. It's probably something that you were meant to do from the time you were born. And when you ask self-made millionaires, what sort of work do you do? They'll often say, I've never worked a day in my life. I just do what I like to do. I had a graduate in my course once who came up to me and said, you know, that's interesting. He said, when I was a little boy, I loved to study airplanes. He said, I got in the airplane books, and I had airplane models, and I had every toy planes, and then I got into competitions with remote-controlled planes. He said, when I grew up and went to school, I studied aeronautical engineering. He said, today, so I'm 35. He said, I own 3 companies. One builds a small aircraft. Another one repairs and services small aircraft. Another one is in leasing and chartering small aircraft. He said, I've never worked a day in my life. He said, I just played with planes since the time I was a kid. So one of the things that you can do is go back to the time when you were young, as a child between the ages of 7 and 14, before you discovered boys or girls, and what is it that you really love to do? And you'll often find that within that is something you're supposed to do as an adult. Number 3 is commit to excellence. Now this is really, really important, and I had a hard time with this as a young man because I was never good at anything. I was never picked for any team, and if I was picked, I was the first person cut. I got lousy grades in every class. I got fired from multiple jobs. I even got fired from a job pumping gas once. Can you imagine that? Being fired for pumping gas because you're no good. They came and said, you're no good at pumping gas. How can you be no good? Little old ladies can pump gas. And there was, I was no good at pumping gas. Anyway, so I got fired and went from job to job. And then I discovered that all people who are successful are excellent at what they do. You know the old question they asked Willie Sutton, the bank robber, why do you rob banks? He said, that's where the money is. Well, being in the top 10% is where the money is. So what you have to do is you have to pay any price and make any sacrifice to get into the top 10% in your field. Now here's the good news. If you're doing what you love to do, you will want to be in the top 10% in your field. If you don't want to be excellent at what you're doing, it means you're in the wrong field. It just means that you're marking time, you're treading water. There's a lot of people who are in their field, and they do their job, and they go home at night, and don't think about their work, and so on. And this kind of an attitude means that you have no future. You have a very shaky present. That crackling sound you hear is the ice breaking under your feet. Okay? And you have no future, because if you're not doing what you love to do and throwing your whole heart into it, you're just marking time. But everybody is designed so that there is something that you love to do that you can do well. And the fact that you love it means that you probably have the ability to excel at it. So make this decision to get into the top 10%. And let me tell you what changed my life. Here I was struggling in my late 20s, and I learned this as a breakthrough thought, is that everybody's in the top 10% started in the bottom 10%. Everybody who's doing well was once doing poorly. Everybody who's at the top of your field today was once not even in your field at all and didn't even know it existed. What that means is that if you're willing to pay the price and work hard and make the sacrifices, you can get into the top 10%. Now, how long does it take? It doesn't take a week or a month. Most people are really impatient. To achieve mastery in your field takes 5 to 7 years. You'll say, 5 to 7 years? Jeez, I'll be 5 to 7 years older before I start enjoying the big rewards. Well, how much older will you be in 5 to 7 years anyway? Now, here's an important point. Are you ready? The time is going to pass anyway. Time is going to pass. 5 to 7 years from now, 5 to 7 years will have passed. The only question is, are you going to be at the top of your field, or are you still going to be down there with the mediocre 80%? And the wonderful thing is this, is nobody's better than you, and nobody's smarter than you. If anybody else is at the top of their field, it means that you can be at the top of your field. Just go to them and find out how they got there, because they started at the bottom. Now, it may take longer for some people and less for others, but everybody who puts one foot in front of the other and keeps moving, eventually gets there. And that's where all the rewards are. And not only that, that's where all the joy in life is. When you're really good at what you do, you feel wonderful about yourself. You're respected and esteemed by everybody around you. You can write your own tickets. You can open any door when you're good at what you do. As you get up in the morning and you know you're good. And that is more important than the rewards that go with it. The next key is to develop your unique talents and abilities. Every single person is designed from infancy with special talents and abilities that if you develop them to their height can enable you to accomplish anything you want in life. Everyone is genetically structured to be able to do something superbly, to do something they enjoy, to do it well, and to get great satisfaction from it. Peter Drucker often asks the question, what are you good at? What are you good at today? What should you be good at? What could you be good at? What will you be good at? And so one of the questions that we ask is, looking back in your life, what has been most responsible for your success up to now? What has been most responsible in the past? What is it that you have done that has gotten you the best results? Because as we said before, success leaves tracks. And if you look back into your past, you'll often find indicators that guide you to your future. Do you remember that fellow that won $300 million in the lottery? He was a high school physics teacher, and they asked him what he's going to do with it. He said he's going to take a week off and then get back to work, because he doesn't want to give up his job teaching high school physics, because he loves his work so much. That is a person who's in the right place for him. And now he could just drive to it in a nicer car. Now, the next key to becoming a self-made millionaire is to see yourself as self-employed. What we found is the top 3% of adults in our society see themselves as self-employed. They see themselves as in charge of their own lives. When I started off my career as a young man, I was 21 years old, working as a construction laborer, living in a one-bedroom apartment, broke, taking buses 2 hours every morning to get to work, and buses 2 hours to get back. I still remember that, and I still remember a light going off one evening. I was sitting there in my little apartment, in my little kitchen alcove, and I suddenly realized that I was responsible, that I was in charge of my own life, that no one was coming to the rescue. And it was one of the great turning points in my life. So what you find is that all exceptional people are highly responsible people. They look upon themselves as self-employed. Sometimes I'll ask an audience, I'll say, how many people here are self-employed? And some people will raise their hand and some won't. I'll say, now what's the true answer to this question? And the true answer is that everyone is self-employed. The biggest mistake you can ever make is to ever think you work for anyone else but yourself. Even if someone else assigns your paycheck for you all your life, the most valuable people in any organization are the people who treat the company as though it belongs to them. They see everything that happens as affecting them personally. They're not the 9-to-5ers, the no-hopers that say, oh, I go to work, when I'm not at work, I don't think about my work. These people, somebody has told them that's a clever way to think. It's the way losers think. Winners think about their company, and when they're not there, they think about how they can do it better. When something happens in their company, they take it personally, because they see themselves as highly responsible. As a result, they're paid more, they're given more educational opportunities, they're promoted faster, and these are the people that eventually, like cream, rise to the top of every organization and every industry, the top 3%. The next key to becoming a self-made millionaire is to develop a clear sense of direction. Developing a clear sense of direction means that you need to become intensely goal-oriented. We find that all successful people are goal-oriented. There's an old saying, you can't get a target that you can't see. You've got to know what you want in every area of your life. Some years ago, I worked with the Hunt Oil Company in Texas. The Hunt Oil Company was founded by H.L. Hunt, who became the wealthiest, self-made, multi-jillionaire billionaire in the world. At his peak, he owned 200 companies and had a royalty income of $3 million a day. Most phenomenal man, by the way. And he was interviewed by a friend of mine on television before he died in the early 70s. And he was asked, what are the secrets to success? He said, the keys to success have only been two through all my life, and I will tell you what they are. He said, number one, he said, decide exactly what it is you want, and write it down and make a plan to achieve it. And number 2 is determine the price you're going to have to pay to get it, and then resolve to pay that price. Now, where the law of sowing and reaping cause and effect, I learned an additional point to that. I learned that your current life today is the result of the price you've sown up to now. Is whatever you've put in, you get out. So whatever you're getting out today is a result of what you've put in. If you don't like what you're getting out, what you have to do is you have to put in something different. What I found is this, is that life is always just in the long run. So therefore, life says this, is there's a price you have to pay, and there's 2 qualities. First of all, you have to pay the price in full for your success of study, preparation, hard work, and so on. And second of all, you have to pay the price in advance. You don't get it afterwards. The way the world works is first you put in what you need to put in, and then you get out the rewards. So you have to ask yourself, what is the price that you have to pay to achieve the success that you desire? And you have to write it down and make a plan and work on it every day. Now let me give you a quick exercise, which is my only take-home or homework exercise for our time together. I want you to take a piece of paper like this and write down 10 goals that you'd like to accomplish in the next 12 months. Write the word goals and today's date at the top of the page. Write down 10 goals you'd like to accomplish, and then ask yourself this great question. If you could only accomplish one goal on this list, but you could accomplish it within 24 hours, which one goal would have the greatest positive impact on your life? Now this is a great question because it'll usually jump out at you. You say, that's the one. If I had this, that would have more of an impact on my life than anything else. Sometimes it's a financial goal, sometimes it's a health goal, sometimes it's a relationship goal. But whatever it is, put a circle around that goal, and then turn the page over and write it at the top of the page. Set a deadline on the goal. Make a list of everything that you could think of to do to achieve the goal, and then begin working on your list. Here's the kicker. Do something every day. Do something every day that moves you in one step forward towards your major goal. I promise to you that this exercise, selecting your most important goal, making a plan, and working on it every day, will change your life in ways that you cannot imagine. They say that people begin to become great when they determine their major definite purpose, number one goal, and work on it every day. It is the secret to becoming a self-made millionaire. It's the secret to great success in life. My promise to you is a week, a month, a year from now, you'll look back and you'll be absolutely staggered at the difference it makes. I was giving a seminar not long ago, and a gentleman came up to me. He said, you know that goal-setting exercise? It changed my life 10 years ago. He said, I was broke. I was divorced. He says, I was an alcoholic. And somebody dragged me to one of your seminars. He said, and I did that exercise and I picked my major goal. He said, it changed my life. I said, in what way? He said, today, he said, I'm worth $40 million. I said, wow. He said, yes, and I owe it to that lesson. Next, he's refused to consider the possibility of failure. It's the most amazing darn thing is that the fear of failure is the greatest single obstacle to success in adult life. And it's not failure itself, because each one of you is a professional failure. Each one of you has failed over and over and over again. Is that true? All of us fail. All human beings fail over and over. 9 out of 10 things that we try don't work out the way we expect it. We have failures in relationships and in jobs and in careers and investments and everything. It's not the failure that holds you back. The failure makes you smarter. We say that it is the fear of failure, not failure, that holds you back. And the way that you overcome failure is you never consider the possibility of failure. The rule is this, is there's no such thing as failure, there's only feedback. Is when you try something that doesn't work, you get feedback, not failure. And recognize that most things you try aren't going to work the first few times. So what you do is you say, oh, that's an interesting bit of feedback, and you pick yourself up, and you move forward, and you have more feedback, and you move forward. To become a self-made millionaire, you're going to fail over and over again, year after year after year. But your brain has a cybernetic mechanism, which means that sometimes you try something, you get feedback, which makes you smarter. And when you try something else, you get feedback, which makes you smarter, and eventually you reach the point where you're too smart and you stop making mistakes. You start to do more and more things right and fewer things wrong. But you can't get there unless you have experienced the failures. Henry Ford once said that failure is merely an opportunity to more intelligently begin again. And let me pass on one great rule to you, which has been discovered in interviewing self-made millionaires. Self-made millionaires look into every failure for something good. They say, there's got to be something good in this that I can benefit from, and surprise, surprise, they always find it. Second is, the self-made millionaires always seek the valuable lesson in every setback or obstacle or temporary failure. and they always find the lesson. Now, what do failures do? Failures whine and cry and think about what they've lost and blame their problems on someone else. Successful people say, what can I learn from this that will make me smarter next time? And my promise to you, also seek find, is if you go looking for a valuable lesson in the biggest problem that you're facing today, you'll always find the lesson. Here's another possibility. Your biggest problem today could be the biggest gift that you have ever received, because it may contain within it the lesson that will make you successful. If you stop thinking about what happened and who's to blame, and you start looking for the gift within your problem, sometimes it can transform your life. The next key is to dedicate yourself to lifelong learning. Now, what takes you from rags to riches is personal development, personal professional development. In the 21st century, as Peter Drucker says, knowledge and skill are the keys to the 21st century. And the only thing that will be relevant, the only skill that will be relevant in the 21st century is the ability to learn new skills. Because virtually everything you know is becoming obsolete at a rapid rate. Stephen Covey says that your current knowledge base has a half-life of 2 years, which means that half of everything you know will be irrelevant within 2 years. And 2 years from now, half more. So if you're not continually learning and upgrading your knowledge and skills, you're not staying in the same place. As Pat Riley says, the basketball coach says, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. If you're not constantly learning, you're actually falling behind. So here are the 3 keys to continuous learning. Number 1 is read in your field 30 to 60 minutes each day. In other words, turn off the television, turn off the radio, put aside the newspaper, and just read in your field. The very best places to read, by the way, are books. Read books, the best-selling books written by the most successful people in your field, because books contain a wealth of riches that can enable you to function at a far higher level, to get much better results than you could before. So read 30 to 60 minutes a day. I've had people tell me, countless people over the years, that reading an hour a day has doubled and tripled their income within a year. The second thing you do is take every course that you possibly can. The courses and seminars that are available to you in your field that are given by professionals, that are courses that have been developed over years and years and years. They have been tested and tested and tested. The person who is talking to you for several hours has spent thousands of hours learning their subject. They have dry tested this or done test runs with thousands of other people. When you take a course, you can learn enough information in 1 or 2 days, more than you could learn in 2 or 3 years, or maybe even a lifetime. All distilled and put together. People say, I can't afford a course. You cannot afford not to buy books. Can't afford not to go to courses. Some years ago, I had a dentist, and he was a very successful dentist. It was recommended to me by a friend. And this dentist retired at the age of 53. And just before he retired, he sold his practice for about $2 million. Just before he retired, he told me why. He said about 8 years before, he had attended a dental congress in Hong Kong. This is from California. He'd flown all the way to Hong Kong to attend this international dental congress because there were specialists giving private lectures, sort of plenary sessions on the side. And he attended this session, and it was on a particular technique of cosmetic surgery that this dentist had developed that no one else knew, where you could basically straighten out a person's entire front jaw so they look beautiful at a very low cost, at a very high level of effectiveness. He came back and he began implementing this in his practice. People began flying from 500 to 1,000 miles away. Every dentist set their families, members, and themselves to this dentist. He was able to charge whatever he wanted to charge. He said 8 years later he retired as a self-made millionaire at the age of 53. He would enjoy his money for the rest of his life from what he learned from one session at one convention, one course. Now that is a true story, and maybe it's an exception, but you can never tell where the information is going to come from. The third way that you can upgrade your skills is listen to audio programs in your car. The average driver drives 500 to 1,000 hours a year, 25 to 50,000 miles. If you listen to audio programs in your car, according to the University of Southern California, you will get the equivalent of almost full-time university attendance just listening to learning material as you drive around. It can totally and profoundly change your life. Very, very important. Here's an interesting point. The more you commit yourself to becoming the best person you can be, the more you like yourself and respect yourself, the more energy you have, the bigger goals you set for yourself, the more you persist. When you invest in yourself and you read and learn and upgrade your skills, you're telling yourself, wow, I am a person with a great future, and it's up to me to maximize my potential. And your self-esteem goes up, your self-respect goes up, your sense of personal pride goes up, and you start to get promoted more and paid more in every part of your life. Well, the next is to develop a workaholic mentality. In our society today, you've heard all these people talking about take it easy, have balance in your life, relax, lean back, have fun at work, happy, get along with your coworkers. This is loser talk. Loser, loser, loser. Now, there's a time in your life when you can back off. All right? You can take it easy. But that's when you've made it, not before you've made it. Because before you've made it, you're in a competition with hundreds of thousands of millions of other people, like at the Olympics, who also want to make it. And in order for you to win, you are going to have to work harder and work better and work smarter than they do. So the rule is to develop a workaholic mentality. What does this mean? It means that you start a little earlier, you work a little harder, and you stay a little later. Use what I call the 40-plus formula. The 40-plus formula says that working 40 hours a week gets your survival. And that's all. You work 40 hours a week, you survive. You make no progress. You don't go ahead. You just barely hang on. Every hour that you invest in your work or yourself over 40 is an investment in your future. So you can tell what your future is going to be with unerring accuracy by looking at how many hours over 40 you put in. Now, how many hours does the average self-made millionaire in America work until he passes the $1 million mark? 59. Some of them work 70, 80, 90. The average is 59 hours. How much does the average top executive work? 59 hours. Now, that's rule number one, is the hours you put in over 40. People say, well, my office is locked and I can't get in more than 40 hours a week. Then good. Then spend the rest of the time investing in yourself, getting better at your work when you do it. Now, here's my second principle, and this principle changes your life. It is this, is work all the time you work. When you work, don't play. Only 50% of working time today is wasted, and it's wasted at idle conversation, personal business, family phone calls, surfing the internet, and reading the newspaper, drinking coffee, long lunchtimes, coming in late and leaving early. And then the other 50% you're scrambling because now you're behind because you wasted so much time fooling around. Now you start to work and you don't work on high priority tasks to try to get rid of all the little stuff. So what happens is the big tasks begin to build up like an avalanche overhang, and they cause enormous stress. And you go home at night and you're thinking, does this job, I've got to get this project finished. But I can't discipline myself to stop talking to my coworkers. Every time one of them comes in, I like automatic, like a conditioned response, it's blah, blah time. Chatter, 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 chatter. No, what you have to do is work all the time you work. If someone comes in and says, hey, you've got a minute to talk, you say, yes, but not now. Why are we talking after work? Meanwhile, I've got to get back to work. Tell you what, why don't you go down the hall and ruin his career? But don't sit here and ruin mine. It's really important. There's a great story of a little girl goes to her mother and says, Mommy, why is it Daddy always brings his briefcase home and he works in the evenings and he works on the weekends and he doesn't spend any time with the family? And she said, well, honey, you have to understand, Daddy can't get all his work done at work, so he has to bring it home. She said, why don't they put him in a slower class? The next key is to get around the right people. This is a key for becoming a self-made millionaire. Get around the right people. Dr. David McClellan at Harvard did studies for 25 years looking into why it is that some people succeeded greatly in life. What he found was that as much as 99% of your success in life is going to be determined by what he called your reference group. Your reference group are the people with whom you habitually associate. They're the people that you associate with at work, the people you associate with home, your church, your political party, your social circle. What he found in working with people is that changing a person's reference group totally transformed the way they think. Why? It's because we are like chameleons and we absorb through the skin the attitudes, the opinions, the behaviors, the style of dress, the style of speech of the people with whom we associate most of the time. If you start to associate with winners most of the time, you find that they have a totally different worldview. They're positive, they're upbeat, they're focused, they're learning, they're growing, they're positive at what they're doing, and you start to become like that. We know that our relationships determine 85% of our happiness or unhappiness in life. In other words, if you have bad relationships, personal relationships, they will drag you down worse than a sea anchor. If you work for a bad boss, they'll destroy all your joy in work. If you have one negative coworker, and they found that one negative person in an office could cast a blackness over the whole office because of his or her negativity. And so the most important thing you do is you choose your relationships with care and only associate with people that you like and respect and enjoy being around. Next is be prepared to climb from peak to peak. One of the keys to becoming a self-made millionaire is to realize that life is never in one continuous train. It's always up and down. So it goes up, like if you climb a mountain peak, you have to go down into the valley before you climb the next peak. So all of life is cycles and trends. All of life is cycles and trends, and there's up cycles and there's down cycles, and there's up trends and there's down trends. The question is, what is the general direction of your trends? We say this, is that life is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Successful people focus on the 2 steps forward, and then they protect themselves on the downside. They build up cash reserves. They put in stop-loss orders on their stock market. They very carefully watch what they're doing. So they try to maintain that 2 steps up and then make sure that the 1 step back is not so far. And then they want to make sure that this curve is generally upward. So that each time there's a step back, they're still further ahead than they were before. The next one, which is to develop resilience and bounce back. Developing resilience and bouncing back is one of the key qualities of self-made millionaires, because as I said right at the beginning, most things won't work. This is a very interesting point, is that you're going to be knocked down over and over again. And what we know, as my friend Charlie Jones says, is you have to bounce and don't break. And when things go wrong, bounce. And so what I learned many years ago was this interesting technique of what is called mental rehearsal. And mental rehearsal says that you mentally prepare for the inevitable downturns before they occur. So you say, all right, in the course of life, things are going to go wrong, but when they do, I'm not going to become upset. I'm not going to get mad or angry or anything else. I'm just going to take it and learn from it and pick myself up and keep going. Sometimes I ask this question, does anybody here have any problems? Everybody says, yes, everybody's got problems. Well, here's the rule, is all of life is a continuous series of problems. They never end. Problems just keep on coming, like the waves of the ocean. The only break in this unbroken series of problems will be the occasional crisis. So life will be problem, 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 crisis. Problem, 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 crisis. It's like the waves of the ocean. 6 problems and a crisis. 6 problems and a crisis. Which means that everybody here is either in a crisis right now, has just gotten out of a crisis, or is just about to have a crisis. So what we have found is this, the hallmark of superior people, 30 years of research, is how you respond to a crisis. How you deal with problems, how you respond to a crisis. And what we have found is this, is superior people look for the solution to every problem. They don't allow themselves to become upset and angry when something goes wrong. They say, okay, what's the solution? And they become intensely solution-oriented. When you have a very intense problem, that stimulates creativity to solve the problem. So what you do is you write and define the problem clearly. If you have a problem, you say, wait a minute, what is my problem? What is it that I'm worried about? And write it down. And the very act of defining a problem clearly often triggers the solution to the problem. One last technique that I want to give you with regard to your major definite purpose. If you only do these 2 things as a result of our time together, they will transform your life. You've already identified the one goal that can have the greatest positive impact on your life. Now what you do is you take that goal and you write it at the top of a page in the form of a question. And you say, let us say your goal is to double your income. That can have a major impact on your life. Say, what are all the things that I could do to double my income in the next 12 months? Write it as a clear question. Even better, if you're earning $50,000 a year today, right? What could I do to earn $100,000 over the next 12 months? The more specific the question, the better. Then you devote yourself to writing 20 answers to this question. You must write a minimum of 20 answers. Work harder and work smarter, start earlier, stay later, change occupations, upgrade my skills, whatever it is. Keep forcing yourself to write till you've written 20 answers. We call this mind storming. The first 3 to 5 answers will be easy. The next 3 to 5 answers will be difficult. The last 10 answers will be incredibly difficult. But I have given this exercise to people who've gone on to become millionaires so many times I've lost track. Because they often find that the 20th answer changes their whole life. And if you've ever done this once, it's absolutely staggering. More people have become millionaires with this simple idea of mind storming, what I call the 20 idea method, than any other single method of creative thinking ever discovered. Once you've got your 20 answers, pick one answer and take action on it immediately. Once you've got, it doesn't matter what it is, just take one answer and take action on it, and that will keep, thinking and acting creatively all day long. The next key to becoming a self-made millionaire is to become an unshakable optimist. Unshakable optimist means that you think and talk about what you want most of the time. Optimists think and talk about what they want. They look for the good in every situation. They seek the valuable lesson. They're constantly feeding their mind with great ideas, which opens up new perspectives. What I have found is that optimists have three wonderful qualities. Number one is they learn more things. As a result, they dramatically increase the likelihood that they will learn the right thing at the right time. Number two is they try more things, which dramatically increases the likelihood that they'll try the right thing at the right time. And number three is they persist. They never give up. Optimists make a decision, and once they've decided they're going to become wealthy, they just never stop until they achieve that goal. Now, will they have many setbacks and obstacles and difficulties? You know that almost everybody succeeds in a different direction from what they originally intended, or from what they originally thought, but they just keep going. Almost like a football player running down the field, running, blocking, changing, moving back, forward, continue, never loses sight of the goal. So optimists learn more things, try more things, just life. I want to leave you with the last two qualities of self-made millionaires. Second to the last quality is that they develop the qualities of courage and persistence. I said before, the biggest single obstacle to success is the fear of failure. The antidote to the fear of failure is the habit of courage. And what we know is that you need two types of courage to succeed. The first type of courage is the courage to begin. It's the courage to launch with no guarantees of success. Someone once said that if all obstacles must first be removed, nothing will ever get done. So successful people are willing to think, plan, make decisions, and then take action with no guarantees. We say, leap, and the net will appear. Take action with no guarantees, and then learn. The second part of courage is the courage to endure. It's the courage to persist. It's the courage to keep on keeping on. It's to make the decision in advance that you will never give up. No matter what happens, you will never give up. You will get knocked down over and over again, but you'll never give up. And the interesting thing is, if you make that decision in advance, you'll find yourself continually bouncing back. So courage means the courage to begin and the courage to endure. And the final quality of self-made millionaires, and Napoleon Hill called this the master key to riches. After studying 500 of the richest people in American history, he said is the quality of self-discipline. It's the ability to make yourself do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. Quality of self-discipline is the quality that will make you a big success. It's the ability to force yourself to do what you know you should do. And here is the wonderful discovery. This persistence is self-discipline in action. Every time you persist, you build your self-discipline. Every time you practice self-discipline, you build your ability to persist. And the two of them are tied into your self-esteem. So the more you persist, the more you like yourself. And the more you like yourself, the more discipline you have. And the more discipline you have in practice, the more you like yourself. As a result, the more you persist. And eventually you get onto an upward spiral, but you become absolutely unstoppable. You reach the point where you know you can achieve the goal and nothing in the world can stop you. And every step that you take forward makes you stronger and stronger and stronger. Until finally people say, I know one thing about him, I know one thing about her. You cannot stop him or her. Once they decided they want something, they will not stop until they get it. And when you develop that quality, there will be nothing that is impossible to you. So let me just leave you with these last points. We're living at the very best time in all of human history. More people are going to make more money in the next few years than have ever been made in all of human history. More people are going to become millionaires and are becoming millionaires today at a faster rate than we've ever thought possible. And no one is better than you, and no one is smarter than you. And if you do what other self-made millionaires do, then nothing in the world can stop you from eventually getting the same results as other self-made millionaires had